Hey everybody, welcome to Landscape Rescue. This is the flower bed that I have built for my neighbor. I was very lucky because I have two neighbors that I'm trying to help, two elderly neighbors, one in her early 80s and one in his late 70s. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to divide their property line and have two flower beds, one for each side, right? So it looks fantastic. Each flower bed is 3 feet from the post. And this was a very difficult build, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. We're in undisturbed ground. And when I say undisturbed, I mean this hadn't been cultivated, ever. We're dealing with compaction from cars being parked over here and things like that. Construction equipment from when they first built these houses. Our houses were built in the 90s, if I remember correctly. And so this had never been a flower bed, it had just been turf. I was running into tons of rocks. This ground was rock solid. Let me break the beds down for you really quick. It's going to be very easy. It's a very simple process. I did plant these in a heat wave, so some of these Sunfinity sunflowers are not having a good time. That's my fault, but I really wanted to get this done for you guys and for my neighbors, obviously. But I wanted to show you this. We had been talking about these Sunfinities that I bought for $2 a piece at Walmart. And then I had also bought 5 for $5 a piece. So the actual cost to build this was so low. I think it turned out great. And I think you guys are probably gonna agree. As simple as it is, it was very inexpensive to produce. Sunfinities in it, 3 on each side, and an $8 clematis. Pink champagne is what I went with for this post here. And then we have 2 different clematis over here on this post. We have and I left the tags buried in the ground so I could tell you guys what they are, because you know me and names. Pink Fantasy, and the other one is a guy's name, I think. Dr. Rupel. So Dr. Rupel and Pink Fantasy. And my idea behind this was one is gonna grow one way, one is gonna grow the other, and then it's gonna link up with this Pink Fantasy somewhere in the middle. And I have 2 of these split rails that I can divide the clematis up against, and then I can play with that pillar a little bit with the clematis. It's going to be a couple years until they really start taking off, and they look a little rough right now, but we've had nothing but thunderstorms for the past 3 days. Every day, except for today, thunderstorm rich, passionate rainstorms. That was the one thing that I love about Missouri, is the rainstorms are passionate. When I was stationed in Washington State, it was just kind of like this sissy rain all day long. Just I didn't like it. I want to see rolling thunderheads coming through. This third bed over here is another Pink Fantasy. Okay, so we got Pink Fantasy coming up and running that way. I really like how this turned out. I wish the Sunfinities were doing better. They've had a rough time. They've had a rough go. It has been very hot. This ground was very compacted. It took me a couple days to get this going because I had to wet the area down because we hadn't had any rain for about 4 or 5 days. I wet the area down so my power planter could penetrate the ground. It was that hard soil. So the power planter was doing fantastic when the soil was moist. But as soon as we got into that dry, compacted soil, it was like concrete. So I had to break out the shovel for the first time in, 4 years. I don't think I've used a shovel other than like transplanting stuff, I think it came out really good. I've had a lot of fun with this. I went with a natural edge instead of using steel edging, which originally was the plan, because I couldn't get 2 steel edging to bend correctly into a circle. They kept bending, right? It wasn't I couldn't make it happen. Might have been able to achieve that with 2 people. I feel like I've done that before. Just 2 10-foot sticks connected and then gingerly made it into a circle, but it didn't work this time because I was by myself. Little Tito, Titus, my son, who's 10, has been helping me with another bed. It would have been nice to have him out there, but little boy's gonna be little boys, and he's got Minecraft and all sorts of stuff. Doesn't necessarily want to do yard work with his dad, but he actually does. So it's my fault. I could have just went and grabbed him and he would have been happy to help. Very, very willing to help. What a good boy. That's this bed, and like I said, very hard digging. Basically how I made the circles, you guys are probably familiar with this. I don't want to talk down to anybody, but anybody who hasn't done something like this, you just make a loop around your central point and then measure out 3 feet, make a mark on the ground, and then you just measure out your paint. You know, you measure out your line, and I wrap it around my paint can a couple times, right? And then it coincides with the 3-foot line, and then I make a circle. This is very simple. I did use my crescent shovel to make my edges. My edges do have a very pronounced V. I didn't scalp all of the grass off of the top. I killed it with Roundup. Then I waited a week and 3/4. Does that make sense? So I didn't wait a full 2 weeks. I was a couple days short of that because I wanted to get it going, but I did scalp. I hauled a lot of soil out of here just so I could bring the level down, so then I could put more mulch in without it being too bermed up. I didn't want to do that. And here we are. Here we are. Beautiful flower bed. This red drift rose that I bought on clearance that has been hanging out in my yard for at least a couple months. I was going to put it in here because I was one short. I was one Sunfinity short, and that was a little frustrating. So I'm gonna call this a success because a lot of these Sunfinities are doing really well. Clematis, not doing so well, but you know clematis, it will whine a little bit and then it will grow 3 feet in 2 weeks. So I'm excited to see that happen. I very rarely ever lose a clematis. I think probably total in my life, I've lost 3. I'm pretty optimistic about this. I did cut the 2 in the back just through transporting them and bringing them in the car and the dog walking past them and stuff like that. Some of those stems got broken and they were really hard to get off of, which I could have saved those, but they were really hard to get off the, you know, that crappy little scaffolding thing they put behind there. So anyway, and we've actually seen those before. The 2 pink champagnes were Monrovia. Those were easy to get out because those are 3 little bamboo tripods, and so you just cut the rubber bands. They just slide right out of the center. So those are relatively easy to get out. But the ones that have the trellis, the little metal trellis, those are a nightmare. And that's what those 2 in the center were. The Dr. Rupel and the Pink Fantasy were from that different grower, the paint by scan grower, as we learned in our last video at Lowe's. So I just wanted to show you that. The folks that are donating to the channel and becoming members, you know, the buy me a cup of coffee level, which is Schmores level awesome. It's $2.99 a month, and it enables me to do things like this. I mean, if you think about it, since we've been doing it for 3 months, I mean, you guys are the reason that I got these Sunfinities. You know, you're the ones that are helping me work on some of these flower beds. I really do appreciate it. The Tordon that I use, the viewers have paid for because you watch the videos all the way to the end and you help people find content. This is what I want the channel to be. I want to be able to rescue people's landscapes. That's why the name is the name. We're gonna shop at Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart and find really good deals so I can take advantage, full advantage of your guys' donations, because that's what it is. Your time is a donation. If you're watching these videos, the donation of supporting the channel and joining the channel. So I'm humbled by it. I'm sure my neighbors really appreciate that, because without that sort of thing, I couldn't afford to do stuff like this. So I wanted to thank you. From the bottom of my heart, without getting too gushy over it, you guys are the reason I did this. I used pine bark mulch that was $3.68 a bag, and I used 3 1/4 bags per section here. So I'm most likely going to break out the Fusillade and hit some of these beds around the outside of the bed just to keep the Bermuda at bay, because this is very Bermuda rich environment. We'll do that. It'll scar it up a little bit. I don't really like that idea of doing that, but it is what it is. I've got to get rid of the Bermuda. It's already starting to crawl in these beds, and they're brand new. They're only about, I mean, I'd say that these beds have been built for maybe a week and a half. Whenever the heat wave was, that's when I was doing all this out here. So my name's Stuart Moore. This is Landscape Rescue. And thank you very much for letting me into your home talk about plants.